from the Kaiser Permanente Studios. How do I know that? Because that says so right there. Kaiser Permanente Studios. It's another go-round of SDH AM. John, here you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Packed show this morning from an information standpoint and an education standpoint, too. We've got Leagues Cup to talk about. We've got review preview, and there were not as many goals last night, but just as interesting storylines from what happened last night. Like I said, we'll walk you through what happened last night, get you ready for what's happening today. Niko Moreno set to join us at 10:30. We'll talk about Seattle specifically and kind of walk around and see what topics are on his mind when it comes to the tournament that is going on right now. 10 o'clock, it's our friend Nino Torres, and he's going to take the tour of South America for us and let us know what else is on his mind, whether it's South America or Europe, as Europe is getting closer to getting underway. So that will be Nino's purview. So Niko Power Hour, 10 o'clock and beyond. We've got some Atlanta United stuff to get into. There are a couple of players that we need to educate ourselves on just so we can see where things are. If you see somebody's name pop up, you can sit there and go, oh, yeah, I have 1, 2, 3 players we've got to focus on and a fourth that we know, and we have an update on him and his new address. And Atlanta United continues not to be paid over a transfer of this particular individual, but he now does have a new address. Again, we'll get into that as well. Is there hope in Vancouver? We'll keep an eye out on that. The province newspaper had some possibilities of a consortium. We'll get into that story as well, and we'll break down everything that is attached to what's going on overseas with FIFA, and we'll get you updated there because there very possibly, maybe, might be some updates involving that as well. So once again, we'll keep an eye on all that. We've got your gossip, your rumor, your innuendo. We have fireworks and 2-year deals. And apparently teams in Turkey just want to really throw money at problems. And so that was kind of part of the whole fireworks. And yesterday with folks on treadmills and electrodes and monitoring whatever you're monitoring in that particular situation, stress tests and what have you. So we'll get you through your gossip. We'll get you through what's going on the televisions, and we'll get you through all the things with all of our transfers and news and so forth and so on. So that is Thursday for us here at SDH AM. Coming up in just a bit, it's going to be Alex Abnos, senior sports editor for The Guardian on this side of the ocean. And it's a conversation that I think we need to have both an educational standpoint and a news standpoint with what happened and is happening currently in Austin, Texas, involving Austin FC. And so we'll go through what it took to get a story like this 100% accurate online with the information that you have and all that. So it's going to be, I guess, Journalism 101 with Alex Abnos, plus an update if there is anything like that may or may not exist. And so technically, that rundown, the table of contents today is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee at blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish. Morning Michael Head, opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And so now we go to the palatial studios of Parts Unknown and catch up with our friend Alex Abnos and find out what is going on. How are you, my friend? Good morning, and thank you for being our Ricky Henderson this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, John. It's great to be here.
You caught me in my first hydration break of the show.
Sorry about that.
That's all good. We believe in hydration, so if you need a hydration break while you're here, it's perfectly fine.
I got some coffee.
There you go. And what is the mug this morning?
It's the official Guardian office mug.
Ooh.
It says, what does this one say? Facts are sacred.
Yes, and we agree. Circle gets the square. Couple of reasons I wanted to have you on this morning. I would be remiss if I did not ask you about the white smoke in Two Penn Plaza that happened a couple days ago. And now we have a new commissioner in Larry Berg at Major League Soccer. How do I know that I'm asking you this question? Because you asked a question. And that's why I'm asking you questions now that you've had a day or so to think about it. Takeaways from now Larry Berg is the new commissioner of Major League Soccer taking over in 2027. What's your vibe coming out of it with a day or so?
I mean, I Uh, it's early. We're not even 24 hours into him being named, and he doesn't officially take the job until January 1st of 2027. So he's got a few months here to sort of get his bearings in the new position. But I think that if you are the type of person that thinks MLS needs to make pretty drastic changes to its on-field product, make it maybe easier for more teams to buy great players, to loosen up roster restrictions, those sorts of things. I mean, ultimately, Larry Berg works at the behest of 30 MLS owners, so it's not all his doing. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. But I do think he's the kind of person that's going to push those people to be a little bit more, let's say, liberal with the spending, be a little bit less cautious than MLS has been. Keep in mind the history of MLS is basically tiny, 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 tiny incremental changes. And I do think that made sense for a very, very long time, given where soccer was in 1996 when MLS started, and certainly where MLS was when Don Garber took over at the turn of the century. It was on life support basically and needed everything, all the stability it could get. That's not a problem anymore. MLS ain't going anywhere. It's got buildings all over the country. It's got a legitimately great training facilities in most markets. The time has come to really make a push. Honestly, the time to make a push was before the World Cup, so that people like me and you aren't getting questions from people that are just getting into soccer asking things like, when does MLS start? I've gotten this question from 5 separate people
Really?
now in my life just since the World Cup ended. And
Wow.
I think that is just, you can read that positively. Like, great. These people are, experienced World Cup soccer and now want to experience more soccer, and they're going to MLS, and that's good for the league. You can also see it very negatively, which is, first of all, I don't have a great thing to tell them, which is that, well, it's already been going for a few months, and if the team closest to you is really bad, then sorry, you're just going to have
Yeah.
to watch some bad soccer for a while. Um, and the other thing is that it's not good that they don't know. It's not good that they don't know that the schedule of MLS. I don't know if getting great players or improving the quality on the field is going to solve all of those problems. But I do think Larry Berg is the type of commissioner that's going to be focused more on those things than Don Garber was.
When you said turn of the century, I was like, man, that I mean, it's like, yeah, you put the whole thing in context. It was just like, yes, he's been here, more than 25 and not quite 30 years, but the fact that he has been here taking, single entity structure and going to where the league is now, it just, when you said that phrase, I'm like, yes, he's been commissioner since year X. And you're like, yeah, okay, you take it. But then you go turn of the century, and that's just kind of like, bang, that's one of the early morning sledgehammers on you.
Yeah, the phrase that really stuck out for me during the presentation and during the news coverage and everything that I wrote, I think in my story, is that Larry Berg becomes MLS's third ever commissioner. I was just like, that's such a low number, even for a league that's relatively new like MLS. 3 commissioners over the life of 31 years or so is pretty impressive. And Don Garber gets a lot of criticism, much of it deserved. I think he also deserves more than his fair share of credit for keeping the league alive during those early years, for the growth that happened under him. I think the time was definitely right to move on, but he also deserves a fair bit of credit for everything that's happened in MLS under his watch.
The Pittsburgh Steelers of professional sports leagues.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess that would make him Chuck Noll and Larry Berg, hopefully Mike Tomlin. I think that's how
Yeah,
this is going to work.
sure.
Or Bill Cowher or something like that.
Yeah.
I knew I skipped somebody. The other reason that I brought you in was really the first reason that I brought you in. And it has to do with a story that I think we have to keep an eye on. And it came out late last month in Austin, Texas, involving Austin FC. And it is where academy players are under investigation by the police and FBI for allegations of youth-on-youth sexual abuse. And this will be today's required flashback reading for the audience in whatever form they consume us. But I wanted to kind of have you walk us through this to where the Guardian was confident enough to post a story of this import and make sure that everything is buttoned up, and your role there as major domo editor and all this kind of stuff. I want to kind of walk folks through this story, because it's important. We need to hang on to it. and B, how you came across it, and all of those things. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say from the outset, just at the risk of frustrating people with everything I'm about to say, is that this is an extremely tricky story, and for a lot of very obvious reasons. I mean, any kind of story, once you're dealing with allegations of sexual abuse or misconduct or whatever it may be, are always tricky. But this one especially so because it involves children, and in this case, children on children is the sort of conflict that we're talking about here. And I think it's also important in terms of the way that we reported the story, that you separate two things. One of which is the thing itself that's being investigated, the youth on youth sexual abuse thing that's being investigated, which we did not go into detail about because we just don't have a lot there that we can report, that we can put in the paper, quote unquote. We have no paper in the U.S. We do in the UK, but not in the U.S. Um, and the existence of the investigation. And it's important that you separate those two things because there are very different levels of, let's say, confirmation or sourcing and definitive evidence that we can get for those two things. When you're talking about allegations of sexual abuse between two entities, whoever they are, two people, um, that requires like as journalists, we can't publish anything unless we are 100% sure that it happened, or that we can at least say this person says that it happened and make very, very clear that it is an allegation and not a statement of fact. And once you're talking about anything relating to sexual abuse, misconduct, those sorts of things, the line for proof of that is extremely high, and it should be, because if you get that wrong, that is a stain on that person's character forever. This stuff exists on the internet forever, and it's something really, really bad. Basically, the existence of the investigation, by comparison, is much easier to prove because it is on paper. It is a public record, or at least a semi-public record, depending on how sealed or unsealed the details may be. You may not be able to see the investigation itself, but the Austin, Texas Police Department confirmed for us after we heard from sources that this investigation exists, that the investigation exists. And that to me is news. That to me is the kernel that we were sort of building off that gave us license to write the rest of the story that we did. And that's basically how it works. We had heard from sources that there was something going on in the Austin FC Academy. We made a bunch of different calls to a bunch of different people in and around the academy, in and around the league, who we heard was involved in the investigation, who did know a thing or two and were giving us some information about that at the club, obviously. And we were able to put that all together into the story you read. I don't know if it's going to be the last story that you read from us or from somebody else about this, but that's basically how it came together. And the thing that allowed us to publish it is that it's focused on the existence of the investigation and the fact that the FBI is involved. And you'll notice that there are no real details in there about what specifically is contained in the investigation or what specifically the allegations are, and that's because we just don't have those things in a spot where we can report them, and we might never have that information in a spot where we can report them, and that's just kind of what journalism is.
You and Pablo Maurer share the byline, and I say paper too. So trust me, it's okay to say paper, periodical paper, what have you, because I'm 700.
Print.
Yes, I'm 700 years old, so for me, it's easy to say paper. The story in and of itself was bylined on the 24th of July. How far back an investigation was this for the Guardian to get to July 24th at 5:45 in the afternoon to where you published the story? How far back do we go here?
So this one, I have worked on a bunch of stories like this almost entirely as an editor, and they traditionally take a very, very long time. This one was different. This one came together very, very quickly in the space of about, I want to say, maybe a week and a half.
Wow.
And it's because, again, the scope of it is so limited. The scope of the story is literally the existence of the investigation, roughly what the investigation is about, and the target of the investigation, which are the kids within the Austin FC Academy. Those three things together, I think, are more than enough to merit a news story, which is why we did what we did. There is probably a wider story to tell that will take much, 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 much longer. We're, we are working on things. We're following up on a lot of things that we heard during the reporting of this first story that we couldn't get to the point to where we could put it into publication. Trying to get those details over the line. Any story like this, you hear a lot. Like any story you read that's along these lines, it's very, very, very rare that what you as a reader read in the story is 100% of what the reporters have heard over the life of reporting the story. There are false details. There are things that people misremember. There are details that you're like 99% sure are true and they sound true, but you just can't get them over the line. You can't get enough confirmation. You can't get enough people saying that they happened. So it takes a long, long time. This one, again, because it was so, so, so limited and so based on the existence of one public document. There is a document, there is a police report, there is an investigation report somewhere, enabled us to move much quicker on this than we would if it were a more detailed investigation, is what I'd say.
For background and sourcing and all of that, obviously there are the folks that don't want to go on record by name, but they'll give you background and all of that kind of stuff. They want to stay anonymous for various reasons that are understandable. When it comes to vetting and sourcing and anonymous versus on the record, what is the Guardian policy / philosophy of making sure, okay, this one corroborates this one? How deep is that process when it comes to this, or putting out a story of this import?
It's incredibly important, and especially because, as you said, we are dealing almost entirely with sources that would like to remain anonymous. And this is something I think that a lot more people should know or be familiar with. I don't think hardly anybody really understands, other than journalists, the difference between on the record, off the record, on background, and the various levels there within. And without getting, again, to journalism 101 here, basically the way this goes is if you're a journalist and you're having a conversation with a source about anything, doesn't matter the topic. Off the record, first of all, very important to know, is an agreement between the journalist and the person that you're talking to. It is not one-sided. So one person can't say this is off the record and then just talk without the journalist saying, or the other person saying, okay, like both sides have to agree this is off the record. And once it is off the record, the journalist obviously you can talk, you can say whatever, but the information they give you, the information they give you cannot be used in print, and in theory, can't be used in the course of reporting. In practice, many, many journalists use that information in the course of reporting, but maybe obscure where it comes from. But the point is that if it's off the record, you cannot print it. Sometimes people will have off the record conversations with sources and then go and verify that information with maybe 2 or 3 other people and then come back to that original source and say, can we go on background or something like that? And again, it's a conversation. All of these things are a conversation between a source and a journalist. Above off the record, you have on background. And this is where things get really, really murky because different publications, different countries. I work at the Guardian, which is a British publication with a really, really big and active American arm, which is obviously where I work. The American definition of on background is very, very different from the UK definition of on background. So we run into this in our own newsroom all the time. In the US, on background there are different levels of it, but usually you can use the information they give you. Sometimes you can quote them directly. So if they say, I saw Johnny running this way, then you can put in the paper, quote, I saw Johnny running this way. Sometimes they say, I don't want to be quoted, I just want to give you the information. But regardless, you can almost never use their name. And then once again, it becomes a discussion about how you attribute them. So this is why sometimes you'll see a source with knowledge, or a league source, or a club source, or a source familiar with negotiations. Or sometimes people want to be very cautious and they'll just say a source, which is the least, like, as a journalist, you always want to be as detailed as possible. So the conversation with on background is always, can I push this person to be just like even a little bit more detailed in their attribution so that the readers get a better idea of where this information is coming from. And then on the record is on the record. On the record is you can quote them fully and directly. You can use their name, their title, whatever, and that's the easiest. But on background gets really murky, and I think a lot of people have a lot of different sort of impressions of what that means. And it is very flexible. I think the most important thing to remember is that it's always a conversation, and it's always an agreement between the journalist and the source you're talking to. That I had a lot of conversations like that. They're not long conversations. They're usually like 30 seconds, like, hey, I would like to attribute you this way. I would prefer you attribute me this way. Yeah. And you reach common ground.
You mentioned the conversations, and I'll phrase it that way, with both sides of the Atlantic when it comes to how the U.S. newsroom classifies something and how the British newsroom classifies something. How often are these two newsrooms sitting there and it's like, if you sit there and you go, no, look here, it's this way. And then the British newsroom is like, well, we do this. And you're like, well, over here, we do this. How many times do you have to have that conversation about, yeah, things are a little different over here when it comes to our phraseology and how we're building a story?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting. I think I've had, I will say at The Guardian, there is a lot of respect on both sides of the Atlantic for the way our respective newsrooms do business. I'm not going to, like, The Guardian is a UK brand. It's existed for 200 years over there. I'm not going to tell them how to source their stuff just so that for the amount of readers that they get in the US. Like, why would I do that? And I would say by the same token, they've been very respectful of our traditions and what we sort of see. And there hasn't really been a whole lot of conflict like I've experienced in some places that I've worked in the past. I will say that I think the British definition of on background, basically the biggest difference is that the British, I think there's less expectation of attribution for facts, whereas like in the US, you're more likely to read says a source or say two sources close to negotiations or whatever. In British journalism, you are way more likely to read just the thing. Player X is going to transfer to Chelsea. You might say the Guardian understands. That's a very British construction. Is publication X understands that FIFA has met in Rabat, Morocco, and Gianni Infantino said X, Y, and Z or whatever. Those sorts of things. Yeah. Whereas, like, if it were a purely American publication reporting on that same thing, they might say three sources, including one that was in the room, said Gianni Infantino in Rabat, Morocco said X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. It's just a different level of expectation within the newsroom and from readership. So I don't know. I wish I had like a more fiery answer for you, but it really is just a kind of a conversation. It does also depend very much on the newsroom that it's coming out of. I think there's generally an agreement here at The Guardian that if there's a story coming from the American newsroom, so one of our writers is doing it, one of our editors is editing it, that it will be written using all the standard U.S. sourcing language and things like that, and vice versa for the UK. There are times when we collaborate. We haven't really collaborated too directly on anything that requires this sort of conversation, but when and if that happens, I'm sure we'll be in several Zoom meetings that are probably very entertaining to us and not so much to anybody that doesn't care about the process of journalism.
Yeah. But like I said, that's why I wanted to have you on for a J101 version of explaining where things come to pass with this.
Sure.
My follow-up is, where does the Guardian investigation stand in trying to gather more information as you're trying to update the story and find out where things are?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we heard, what I'll say is this: we heard about a lot of things in the course of doing our very first story that we could not print for various reasons. The mostly being that, like, they're the sorts of things that you need multiple sources and a 110% degree of certainty to publish, and also keep in mind that these are minors involved, and that adds an element where you have to be especially cautious and probably even less likely to name the people involved. In fact, I would say it's almost 100% likely that, like, even if we were to do, or any publication were to do, a big, long, detailed piece about everything that's ever happened in the Austin FC Academy, it's very, very, very unlikely that any kids would be named for very obvious reasons, I would hope.
Yeah.
So we're following up on a lot of those things and trying to get, something that the standard in journalism is generally, if you hear the same people or the same thing separately from two people, that is like, that in some cases is enough to run a story. For something like this, I want to hear it from three people. I want to hear it from as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just going through that process, and it takes a really, really long time because these are the sorts of things that people are not generally super eager to open up about.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, they just want it to go away. They want to move on. They certainly don't want to re-traumatize their kids. So it's a process. It's a long, 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 long process. So we are working on things. We're talking to people, but any potential follow-up story that we could do that might provide more detail into what specifically has been happening at the Austin FC Academy, at MLS academies, and youth soccer in general, is, I would say, a long, long way off from happening, and it has to be.
And that's why we're going to put a bookmark in this conversation right here, because that's why, like I said, that's why I wanted to have you on, because of the story, because of its import. And I wanted folks to understand, to put a story like this together to where it is posted and available, all of the processes that have to go through, because yes, this is chapter 1 and you've got other parts to this to continue, but I wanted folks to kind of understand the walkthrough and all of this stuff. And that's why.
And I will just to give you a sense of the timeline here, I was the editor on the Paul Riley story that ran in The Athletic that, paused games around the NWSL and started that whole conversation back when it was released about player-coach relationships in the league. That story was, I think, worked on over the course of, I want to say 5 or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
From I got the first, I was Meg's first call after she sort of learned the first inkling of information. And from then, it was a long, long, slow process because you're just chasing every lead that you can and trying to get them to talk about things in a way where you can assemble a timeline in a way that not only confirms information, but that also creates a story that people want to read and that actually reveals something about the state of the league and the state of the thing that you're talking about. So I would imagine something like that kind of timeline is probably what we're dealing with here, but I don't really know yet. We're still very early in the process.
Well, I can't thank you enough for hopping on and batting lead off for us this morning to explain the story and processes and all this kind of stuff as we bookmark the story and our conversation going forward. I can't thank you enough, my friend. Continue your caffeination and permission to come back and visit and hang out and talk about other things that aren't as serious or that are as serious, and other topics that folks need to know about. Thanks for coming on, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and you continue your hydration. We'll both be having our beverages, and it'll be great. Thank you so much.
Be good. There goes Alex Abnos. He is a Grand Exalted Poobah, otherwise known as Senior Sports Editor, The Guardian on the U.S. side. And like I said, it was important because that story came out with the investigative work that The Guardian did with Pablo Maurer and with Alex. It's a story we need to hang on to. And now that door has been opened, that's why I wanted to have Alex come in and discuss what they found, how they found it, and just so we know what their background is to assemble a story like that. And that we got to hang on to it. So just put a bookmark in it. And like I said, this is too far serious a story than I know that a lot of folks wish that they would see when it comes to their sports and their sports teams, but it is a story we need to know about and need to continue to know about. And so this is the required flashback reading for the day over at The Guardian. And this was the byline of Abnos and Maurer back on the 24th. He said it came, a couple of weeks from A to B to go with this headline. And so that's where we are. So we'll keep an eye on this and, the work that they've done and where Alex mentioned everything that happened with the NWSL and everything that happened there, Paul Riley, et cetera, 5 to 6 months. So, if information comes through to where they can continue to update, that they obviously will. But to have that first story come out, just so we have it on our collective radar, that's why I wanted to have Alex on this morning to discuss everything in a journalism 101 time construct, just to kind of break everything down. So, it's a story that needs to be reported and it needs to be told and shared. But I wanted to get us to where we are just to kind of have everybody understand how we got to this point. So that's I can't thank Alex enough for batting lead off with us this morning. Senior sports editor at The Guardian here on this side of the Atlantic for this particular story. Morning, David. All right, so Lokeville asked the question, and we'll go ahead and go here. Any good updates on transfers to Atlanta United? And good morning. So good morning, Lokeville, and good morning, David. So here's what we have this morning out of various and sundry places. This morning, we'll start with folks that we know, and we'll work our way backward. Folks that we know that are in different locations. Thiago Almada. You might have heard of this individual. New signing for River Plate. Total agreement with Atletico de Madrid, 20 million euro. He accepted River's proposal a few days ago, and he's going to sign for 3.5 years. So he now has yet another new place on the CV and the business card. And so Thiago Almada continues to work around and find new places to play. And it still just makes you wonder where things stand when it comes to the 8 figures to the left of the decimal that Atlanta United are owed. We'll keep an eye on that, too. And we've efforted others who are reporting on the John Textor-Michelle Kang relationship and a lawsuit that John Textor has filed on Michelle Kang. But we'll keep you posted on anything involving financials and John Textor as we go forward. But no resolution in Atlanta United getting their money as far as I know. I have yet to see anything involving Atlanta United in getting the money that they are owed on the Thiago Almada transfer. So we're now several transfers down the line and still more windows where Atlanta United has not been reimbursed the money that they are owed. Now, to the players that might be inbound, or at least the ones that you have to kind of keep your eye on. And it comes from our buddy Ben Jacobs, actually, to start things off. And with Ben this morning, one of the other things that he has been breaking down, and once again, this was about an hour ago too. So the same time that Cesar Luis Merlo is saying that Thiago Almada is moving to River Plate, Ren forward Brielle Mbolo now drawing interest from Napoli and Milan. Atlanta United have already held talks and assessing several striker options, while Premier League clubs have also inquired. Brielle Mbolo is valued at around 15 million euros. So that's Ben Jacobs this morning. Now, then you get into the Romelu Lukaku situation. Latest with Lukaku, Trabzonspor, according to Sky Italia, has now thrown their hat into the ring. And this was literally as of the last 20 minutes. Trabzonspor has made an approach from Romelu Lukaku, but according to Sky Italia, the option, this is translated from 442 Sports in Turkey, but this option didn't pique Lukaku's interest much. Mo Salah, by the way, he signed his deal, and he was brought out in front of the fans, and they had a boatload of fireworks. Smoke, fireworks, everything. So depending on who you talk to, Trabzonspor was a no. Fenerbahce might be a yes with Lukaku. So Fenerbahce is maybe. Trabzonspor is a no. And so you have Fenerbahce within the last half hour on the verge of reaching an agreement with Romelu Lukaku. So now apparently Turkey is a place where somebody can get paid So that is the latest. It looks like it's Fenerbahce, not Trabzonspor, for Romelu Lukaku. Then yesterday, a couple of other players, and they're both young and they are both toward the back, are ones we have to keep an eye on. Mauricio Amaro was the one that came to the table the loudest. And it started with a couple of reports, one from Sport 890 involving Mauricio Amaro, and it was reported by Guia Lopez Ferraro, and then among others. Nico Musetti was the first to report, reporter for Defensor Sporting. So Amaro is linked to Atlanta United, and this one seems to be closer than a lot of others. Midfielder Defensor Sporting will travel to the U.S. this week, and this is Lopez Ferraro. Traveling to the U.S. this week to sign his contract, offers from several markets, but the club understood that Atlanta United's proposal was the best. Amaro, 20 or 21, depending on who's you're sourcing. Lopez Ferraro says, arrives after establishing himself as the best defensive midfielder in Uruguayan football. Nico Musetti reports the transfer is around $3 million. And according to Lopez Ferraro, in MLS, timely payment of transfers is highly valued, perhaps the only market that complies with payment deadlines. And then the responses in social media after on the idea of Mauricio Amaro being linked with Atlanta and heading to Atlanta from Defensor Sporting, you have a lot of Defensor fans who are less than pleased. And we'll see what our friend Nino Torres may know about Defensor Sporting and the Amaros coming up in about 20 minutes. So when it comes to Mauricio Amaro, he is, let me see if I can find my information here. So it had been done with some background and trying to see how it is when it comes to the statistics for Amaro. And when you run him through scouting stats and stuff. Strong presence in the middle of the park for Defensor Sporting, displaying an exceptional ability to read the game and break up opposition attacks, as evidenced by his impressive tackle statistics. Diligent worker defensively, averaging nearly a tackle per 90 minutes, highlighting his commitment to winning the ball. Winning the ball back for his team. Not necessarily an offensive engaged individual, more of a defensive guy first. So, no, he's not a big, goals and assist guy. So he is in the grand scheme of things probably a truer 6 than what you might think of in other places. Defensive prowess stands out, making him a valuable asset in breaking up plays. But then the criticism, he'll need to elevate his contributions in possession to become a more complete midfielder. But you look at 0.6 tackles per match average. Not really a guy that's going to shoot a whole lot. When you look at aerials 1 per 90, he is toward the right-hand side of the bell curve. So that's probably another one of the things to keep an eye on when it comes to Amaro. So not afraid to get stuck in a tackle, wants to win the ball back, and that is for him first and foremost. Then it was another element in statistics that Jason had found when it comes to duels won in comparison to players at his position, literally the 99th percentile. He was like second in a list of 86 defensive midfielders. And then also at the top of the charts when it comes to tackles. So comparison study, wins a lot of duels, or has won a lot of duels, and is one of the top tacklers in comparison studies when it comes to Mauricio Amaro. So winner of duels, likes to get stuck in tackles to win the ball back for his team. So more of a defensive midfielder than what you might understand for a six that you might want to engage offensively. So Amaro, truer defensive six than a lot of other folks, but way to the right of the bell curve when it comes to winning tackles and winning the ball back for a defense. So that is Mauricio Amaro from Defensor Sporting. And if he goes at the price tag $2 to $3 million as it was listed, you're going to have a lot of fans who are going to be mad, or maddest. So that's Mauricio Amaro. Keep an eye on that. Then in the afternoon yesterday, then you look at Gonzalo Calvigioni, and it was word out associated with Newell's. And Luca Regiardo from Newell's Old Boys was linked to Atlanta United as well. And so Gonzalo Calvigioni, Atlanta United apparently has offered on Luca Regiardo. And he is a part of Newell's Old Boys at present. And so after you're looking at, let's see, 6 hours ago, Newell's, and continuing to check on, it looks like they were on the verge of offering him a new contract. And so, and they're linking once again Atlanta United, and this is in English from Newell's, and linked once again to Calvigioni yesterday. Atlanta United made an offer for 19-year-old Newell's captain, Luca Regiardo. Important to remember who Atlanta's manager is, Newell's icon Tata Martino. And so the question is, from a Newell's perspective, are you helping the coffers at Newell's, or are you taking away one of our resources? So you have multiple folks who are saying, and like I said, reporting versus saying different. So 19-year-old captain Luca Regiardo linked to Atlanta United through Estadio Tres in Argentina. And so going back a couple days, trying to see if there's anything else, was top 3 for match day, and actually best goal of the Liga. And apparently he got into a bit of a back and forth with Paredes after Paredes launched a ball at one of his players, and he's wearing the captain's armband. Literally at Newell's, he's wearing the captain's armband at the age of 19. Central midfielder from Newell's, listed as a competitive central midfielder profile, organizing from the back, can do the progressive passing well, reliable under pressure, good pre-scanning. And one of the things that sticks out, obviously, is his maturity, his competitive maturity for his age, and frequently looks to participate is what is referred to. So Newell's right now is in they are playing a lot of youth. So it is in their current situation where they have Luca Regiardo, a 19-year-old, a central midfielder, who is wearing the captain's armband. So Mauricio Amaro, more of a defensive midfielder, probably more of a 6 than anything else. May not necessarily dive into the play, but Luca Regiardo may. Just to give you an idea about Regiardo. So now let's go to our friends at Transfermarkt and see what they have to say about Luca Regiardo. Oh. See if there's a typo in Transfermarkt. No, there's not. Interesting. Site can't be reached. Wow. Okay. It might just be my computer, but anything's possible. So you look up the player profile. Let's go to Fatmob. Defensive midfielder for Newell's. Transfer value, $2 million. Contract ends at the end of the calendar year in 29. Primarily a defensive midfielder. He has played in central midfield. And his highest value is current. $2 million on the transfer scale. So in the Apertura, he does have a goal. He started 14 and played 1,235 minutes, averaged just under a 7 in his composite rating. But recently, Boca Juniors a 7.7 in the 2-2 draw. Last time he was under a 7 was back in April when he registered a yellow card in a win against Union. So season shot map, 6 shots. He has 1 goal, an XG of 0.35, right-footed, regular play. And let's see. So when it comes to, let's see, how are they determining rank? Other players in their position currently selected competition. So in the LPF. Passing, he is in the 75th percentile in the LPF. Accurate long balls, 84th percentile. And getting into the defensive stats, defensive contributions right now, top 13%. Tackles, top 30%. Interceptions, top 4%. And this is in league. Block shots, top 15%. Recoveries, top 12%. Possession won back in the final third, same thing. Clearances, 77th percentile. Clean sheets, same thing. And, so not afraid to get engaged. So scoring highly on minutes started and goals compared to defensive midfielders in the Apertura. Fatmob's analysis. You got trait graphs and things like that you can look at. Next matchup for him is when Newell's take on Defensa on the weekend. So Fatmob seems to be the place, but right now ranking highly in the Liga Argentina in the LPF against his peers at the age of 19. Right now ranked transfer value $2 million as of 5 days ago. So you could go in and possibly swoop both. But once again, you also have U22 spot available that could take care of one of those transactions for you. So Mauricio Amaro, Defensor Sporting, and then Luca Regiardo from Newell's Old Boys in Argentina. Obviously, the tie to Tata Martino. And then Braille Mbolo from Ben Jacobs. So Mbolo rated at 15 million euro. Amaro rated at 3 and Regiardo rated at 2. So keep an eye on those 3 that right now are the ones that are in the pipeline when it comes to possible ins for Atlanta United. So once again, Braille Mbolo from Rennes in Ligue 1. Mauricio Amaro, Defensor Sporting, defensive midfielder. And then Luca Regiardo, the captain at Newell's Old Boys at the age of 19. They are in a youth movement at Newell's. And highly ranked amongst his peers in the LPF right now at the age of 19. Rated at $2 million right now, his highest point. Newell's could dive in on that if they wished. But once again, Amaro, it looks like it's going to be a $3 million transaction. Regiardo could be is valued at 2, so we'll see what Newell's may have to say about that. And then Mbolo rated at 15 for Rennes in Ligue 1. And Lukaku apparently is probably heading to Fenerbahce. So we'll see. That's your update on where Atlanta is with all of the things, at least right now. And then that could change between now and the end of the show this morning. Before we get into hour number 2 and our second hydration break, let's go here. Soccer America. And I'll talk about Soccer America in a second. On TV today, brought to us by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps us out, helps you out, helps them out. when it comes to gaining a lot of access to South American, Middle Eastern, and North African, and some European soccer that you wouldn't have had otherwise. With Fanatis, you get Libertadores, you get Sudamericana, you get Copa Argentina through TIC, you get TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, access to a lot of the A and B divisions through Tigo Sports or CATV. And right now, through all of the BNs, you get WAFCON, which is going on right now. Like I said, we're tracking down our friend Ali Howarth to kind of go through the group stage. As the group stage is winding down, I swear one match I was watching yesterday had like 9 VAR segments to it. Slowed it down to a crawl. VAR was getting a workout in the afternoon match on the BNs yesterday. So you get all of the African continent. You get AFCON, WAFCON, qualifiers for World Cup tournaments. All of the U tournaments are there as well. You get French League, Turkish League, which means you get Mo Salah. And you also get the Polish League, which is up and running. Keep an eye out on the Discord for the Clausura picks of the week. Keep an eye out for that. So that all of that at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. Today, Leagues Cup on FS1, simulcast on TUDN and Unimas, Cruz Azul, and Union at 8 o'clock. Apple TV has all 6 matchups. After we catch up with Niko, we'll go through all of these and give you juice boxes and all that stuff because I'd still like to find Ref Cruz. Still can't find them. Fox ONE has the Copa do Brasil, Corinthians and Internacionals at 7. Paramount Plus has League Cup, Bristol City and Walsall. Shoot, I should have worn it today. 2:45. CONCACAF Caribbean Cup at 6. Club Sendo and Noma Calju. And then at 9 and 11, Central American Cup. Hankook Verdes and Municipals at 9. Motagua and FAS is at 11. AFCON at 4. Cabo Verde and Cameroon. Simulcast on BN and Espanol. That's at 4 o'clock. Once again, Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. This was, it was interesting to see this yesterday where Soccer America basically said, you know, a lot of the folks that we're used to seeing there, they're putting up their shingle. They're putting up the name and the logos and the rights to it. After Paul Kennedy had said that he was hanging up his shingle after more than 4 decades, it was shortly thereafter that it was announced that they're listening for offers. And it was a bit of a shock to the system to see this for something that has been a part of the soccer landscape for as long as it has, to see that Soccer America is saying, you know, hey, would anyone like to would anyone like to carry on the legacy that we have started here at Soccer America? So it was a bit of a shock to the system to see that. But right now, Soccer America would not be adverse to having somebody pick up their shingle and carry on the torch. So that was, like I said, it was a bit of a shock to the system. But, you know, Paul Kennedy, he announced his retirement, and then following around in short order, you see from the executive editor that, you know, hey, we're not, you know, to be honest, here we go. Here's our future, and if you'd like to be a part of it, then let us know. So yeah, it was kind of crazy to see that come across yesterday. But Soccer America is putting out their shingle. They're putting the sign in the yard. So we'll see what happens for what this has been for the last 4 decades plus. So we'll see what happens with Soccer America going forward. Also on the board this morning, let me get into, since we're going to be talking about Major League Soccer in a bit, I mentioned what was going on with Vancouver and the Whitecaps. And the story came out from Patrick Johnston yesterday. Arthur Griffith's name is being floated out there as possibly a part of a consortium to keep the Whitecaps in Vancouver. As I sit here and try and log into my account, because I read the article yesterday. There we go. So everyone was wondering in Vancouver, is Arthur Griffiths, former Canucks owner, early Vanoc guy, longtime investor, really going to buy the Whitecaps? Answer right now, obviously, is no. But then Johnston, everyone in and around town who's part of the media, they're kind of kicking tires, and they're thinking now maybe. Sportsnet's Dan Murphy reported late last week Griffiths is heading a group that has made, quote, a formal offer to buy the Whitecaps. Patrick Johnston from the province is kind of stepping back on that a little bit, saying it's too strong a term after talking to some of his sources, but there is seemingly a lot of folks who are interested in the idea of buying the Whitecaps. General process is a first inquiry by an interested party, and then you have to sign an NDA to get a full picture of the finances. According to Axel Schuster, the CEO, who went on the Sakaris and Price podcast a couple days ago, as many as 90 groups have now had a look at the team's full financial picture, which was 30 or 40 that had just looked in the data room a couple months ago. So 2 or 3 times as many folks have kicked the tires on the Whitecaps finances. And so you have people who are interested in the project still. Griffiths hasn't said anything publicly, even off the record. So then that means to Johnston that he has looked at more than just the table of contents when it comes to what the Whitecaps have online. Johnston says from what they understand is that Griffiths has been working with a consortium of international business types for several months now to build a proper bid, and that bid could be coming soon. Then you're going to want to keep an eye on what's up with BC Place. Would this ownership group want to buy BC Place from the provincial government as a part of this process? Then you've got to figure out a 5 to 10 year management deal if you don't. And then you get sponsorship packages to sell. You try and figure out more ways to get more revenue in for the Whitecaps, because right now they're at the bottom, toward the bottom, if not the bottom, when it comes to revenue availabilities and streams in and around BC Place on a match day. So Johnston continues, if Griffiths Group or other prospective buyers do decide to go forward, they got to show their financials to the league and to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is hanging out with Major League Soccer to assist in the sale process. Then you go from there. Then you're not going to make a formal bid, according to Johnston, without being in a position to clear the hurdle of showing them your finances going forward. So keep an eye on this. We always talk about bookmarks. Keep an eye on Arthur Griffiths and Vancouver and a group of international businessmen that might be interested in, as a consortium, buying the Whitecaps and keeping the Whitecaps in Vancouver. We have not heard anything else from the Kentucky-based family that wants to buy the Whitecaps and relocate them to Vegas. Haven't heard anything from them in a while, where the son of the family tree was the one who said that, yeah, we want to buy the Whitecaps and we want to build our own barn. We want to do it in Vegas. Haven't heard anything from them in a couple of months. They could be just biding their time, but we haven't heard anything else from them about their process. All right. It is that time. It is that time. It is that time. It is, at least I thought it was, because I thought I heard him pop into the room, but I guess I was wrong. It is after 10 o'clock. First and foremost, it's time for the hydration break. Brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. 2 locations here in the Atlanta area, Johns Creek and on Cumberland, right at the corner of Cumberland Parkway and Cobb Parkway. And we can't thank local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores enough for being a part of everything, and especially here in 2026. So since it is the beginning of hour number 2, technically on the clock, but we are in hour number 2 in just clearing 10 o'clock Eastern time, everyone hydrate. We'll rock and roll. So there you go. Properly hydrated. And I do have Nino's list. So when I see that Nino can get a functioning camera and he can come in from Lima, Peru, then we'll discuss things, because I did want to ask about Mauricio Amaro from Defensor Sporting. I did want to ask about Luca Regiardo from Newell's. And then I wanted to get into all of his other topics, which I have. But once again, I know they exist. I haven't seen them. And so we'll see what it looks like. Let me see if the camera situation has improved. Nino, you got your ears on. I can't hear you and I can't see you. Okay, so we'll go back into the green room, and we will have Nino hopefully turn on a camera, and we'll find out what technical difficulties he gets to sort through this morning. So we'll keep an eye on Nino this morning. So obviously, when we have Niko Moreno coming in at the bottom of the hour, we got all the Leagues Cup stuff to get into. It was a long night for Seattle. And for Seattle in and of itself, you know, we have to ask the questions. We have to ask the roster questions. We have to ask, when it comes to what we're seeing in Leagues Cup, what the future may hold. And let's see. So I'm having a conversation right now with Nino, so bear with me. All right, so I'm telling Nino of his technical difficulties. But last night in Leagues Cup, it was it was a long night for folks. Seattle was definitely one of those, and it was definitely a long slog for a couple of teams last night, and for teams that you might have had some hope on. Nashville, they're now behind the 8 ball. Nashville's behind the 8 ball, it's wild to think of. But yeah, Nashville is behind the 8 ball after their activity last night. And so other stuff going on around the planet really quickly. Your trending rumors: Liverpool considering approach for Real Madrid defender Raul Asensio, according to Team Talk. Liverpool reportedly contacted by the 23-year-old reps regarding a deal, open to a move. Real Madrid want to move him on. Believed Asensio is keen to stay at the Bernabeu, but Jose Mourinho's informed him he doesn't feature in plans. Manchester United considering a move for Jedi Robinson at Fulham, according to TalkSport. United have lined up him as an alternative to Lewis Hall, who they'll switch focus from if their planned £60 million offers turned down. Move for Jedi expected to require a much lower fee. Could be required to tempt Hall away from St. James Park. Aha! Okay, so turn that device one turn sideways. So that way you take up the full screen. There we go. And where's my pop? There it is. Okay, now he's there. And we go to Peru. What up?
Jeez. Hey Johnny, I'm here, man. I was having issues with the laptop. I don't know what's going on, so we got more devices, so we figured it out. We make it work.
You got it, brother. I'm not going to dilly or dally. I look at your list. The very first time Seven Nation Army became a sports anthem has a Peruvian reason. What the heck is going on here?
It's amazing. It's an amazing story. Actually, I found it last night. I was scrolling and I saw this. And I'm like, what? La 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 la. No, so that song became an anthem back in 2003. Champions League.
Yeah.
Bruges goes to Milan to play the almighty AC Milan back in 2003 when Milan was Milan, right? No, not like right now. And then went ahead, and there was only a handful of away fans in San Siro, right? And then Bruges ended up winning that game 1-0.
Right.
And then when they scored, somebody just like went and like, la, 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 la. And you know who scored that goal? You know who scored that goal for Club Bruges? Andre Mendoza.
Okay.
Peruvian striker playing Columbus Crew. And he was the reason. He's the reason why Seven Nation Army is a sports anthem now, man. Isn't that amazing, Johnny? The things that you can find.
That in and of itself is cool. I just wish that Seven Nation Army and having that as a song, it's about 20 years too long, man.
Oh my! I was looking at it. It's just amazing, man.
23 years, and it's like 24 too long. Topic number 2, no shock. 2026 World Cup attendance better than 94 and yet. So what's your and yet, sir? What are you talking about here?
That's what I want. That's what I want to know. That's what I really want to know. And yet what? Right? So the average attendance was 69,000 plus something, and in 94 was 68,000 something. And the analysts, I don't know if I call an analyst, but what are you trying to do? What's the point here? No, because you can consider the games in Mexico and Canada, that the capacity of the stadiums was bigger this time, and the ticket system that it was used in night. Be happy, brother. just be all right. It was 1,000. It's almost 70,000 people per game. 70,000 people. How many? What's the capacity for the Mercedes Stadium, Johnny? 78.
Atlanta Stadium, sir, during the World Cup was 69 and change because they had some of the edges. They didn't have the top, and you also had the media overflow, like all the play-by-play guys. They took out
Right.
They took out that one section right at midfield in the upper deck where all of the media that were calling the games were. So we would have cleared 70. It was like 78 was what it was for soccer.
Okay. So, and that's my question here. So why are we nitpicking this thing? Why? There's a progress. It's progress now. Soccer is a different. It's a different. Not sport, but it's it's a different feeling, a different vibe. It's. I'm not gonna say it's in the DNA of the Americans, but it's certainly won lots of hearts since '94 to 2026, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look. Yes, you had more people, but you had more matches. I know there was concern about capacity, and not everybody was going to go see it. I think capacity was at like 99.6% for all of the matches, and everyone that was concerned about ticket prices. If you wait, if you don't buy them early, then if you're not going to get a suite, then you probably can get it discounted as you're getting closer and closer to the match for the teams that aren't involved and the folks who want to dump their tickets. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in play. Yes, you had more people. It was fantastic. It was a great experience. But, yeah, capacity was capacity. There's nothing to worry about.
I mean, they were trying to point out that there wasn't a real progress in the sport in America.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, come on. No, I'm gonna ask you, Johnny. So, if you compare '94 versus 2026, I don't know. I say what was different, but like this one thing that stands out for you as an American, the hosting the '94 and now hosting the 2026 in Atlanta with massive games. I mean. Just tell me, man, what was different?
The fact that you had all of the different diaspora that were here, all the different fan bases, and I know that there was a concern about, well, they won't show up. I mean, look, here's who I'm wearing today. As a matter of fact, let's step back. Here's who I'm wearing today. This is the match day T-shirt. That's who I'm wearing today. And we got to see firsthand here with the 8 matches that were at Atlanta Stadium. It was an Argentine takeover. It was beautiful.
Insane,
man. I think it was, you can say, and you can talk to Jason about this all day long. You can say what you think it's going to be. Know they're coming, but until you see it, and the videos are out there of the Argentina fan takeover of underground Atlanta, where they had to stop folks going into underground because there were so many that wanted in, and you had the banners and the marches and everything. I mean, look, you had 12 different fan bases come here to Atlanta. And it didn't matter if it was DR Congo, Uzbekistan, Morocco, Haiti, Argentina, England, you name it. Cabo Verde, Spain, didn't matter. They all showed up. They showed out. It was loud. It was hot crowds the entire time. And I hope it was a reminder of what the sport can be in every single place that it touches. And if you're getting to experience something of a tournament type, you might think you're different, but the more you hang out with each other, you're more alike than you think when it comes to your love of the sport and the love of your favorite team. I think it was a great reminder for us. It doesn't matter if you're DR Congo, Uzbekistan, Haiti, whomever. You're going to show up. You're going to love your country. You're going to love your team. You're going to love your sport. And I think it was a great reminder for all of us of that here in 2026.
What about the American fan? What do you see different in the American fan this time? In the American fan?
Expectation.
Right, there was, yes.
In 94, it was like, hey, look at this. This is cool. In 26, it's like, nah, fam, we're expecting. Yeah, this is what the expectations there now. I think in 94 it was something of, hey, wow, look at this. It's a World Cup.
Right.
And we get to now you have, hey, look at this. It's a World Cup, and now you have expectation. I think that's the biggest thing.
And that means a lot. It's a big change because now you're demanding results. Now you want to be part. You just don't want to be part of the dance. You want to be part of the podium. Okay, that's what you want to be part of.
Yeah.
And I believe that the U.S. men's national team, if they continued with Pochettino, I think they're gonna go far next time, in the next World Cup, and there's gonna be more progress. I was actually surprised about the performance from the U.S. men's national team, but then in the end, the last game was like same old story. But overall, for me, I watch, dive, dream, and eat soccer for 45 years. This is the first time that I've seen an American team really not just being a part of the World Cup, but actually competing in the World Cup. Yeah. And that's a big step, guys. It's a big step for the men's national team. Hopefully they keep advancing, and hopefully we'll get to live to see the US maybe live in the World Cup. Why not?
Hey, I'd love it. I know a lot of folks would too. I know we had a massive loss in the world of soccer, and it was a time to celebrate Baresi as he has left us, but it was a chance for everyone to remember and to celebrate Franco Baresi. And I know that our Niko Leafy has been feeling it as well. But yeah, everybody got to say their thank yous to Baresi as he left us.
Yes, absolutely. And I became a fan of AC Milan because of the Dutch trio and Baresi and Maldini. It's just like that season, 88, 89, when they were dominating the world of soccer and the culture, not just the culture. I mean, it was just when you were saying AC Milan back then, it was a dynasty. That's what it was. Because before the arrival of these three and the presence of Baresi and Maldini, it's not like Milan won many Champions Leagues. Since then, and 87 to 2007, all the majority of the trophies won internationally for AC Milan were won with Baresi on the pitch. But putting that aside, the trophies aside, and all the gratefulness to the Capitano. Talking about gratefulness, right? So Silvio Berlusconi, il capo del calcio in Italy, right? He's that guy, man. He's just such a character, man. Baresi was in the final, in the 1, 2, 3, I think it was 1990, I think it was the podium where was Gullit Van Basten and Baresi in the top 3 for the Ballon d'Or. He didn't win it. Franco Baresi actually did not win Ballon d'Or ever. So what Berlusconi did was so cool. So you know what? He created a replica of the Ballon d'Or, an exact replica of the Ballon d'Or. And on his farewell game in '97 in San Siro, he just came up and as an appreciation to Franco Baresi, he gave him his deserved Ballon d'Or. Might not be the official one, but he said, "You're not leaving us without a Ballon d'Or because you deserve it." And Franco Baresi was in absolute tears, man. That's such a gentleman, such a leader, such a great defender, man. And I'm not saying this because he just passed away, but top three, and the craziness is that the other one of the three is actually also he was actually his partner, Maldini, Baresi, and you put someone else, whoever you want. I want to say Beckenbauer and that one, and that's it. Clear the path, top 3, 2 from Milan, 2 from the same era, in Milan. Capitano, grazie, Capitano, forever.
Absolutely true. Now let's go local with you. Universitario Sporting Cristal, Friday night football, Liga Uno, brother. That's not good. That's not going to suck.
It's going to be massive tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Friday Night Lights in Peru. At the Monumental, 65,000 people. Stadium sold out already. And we're gonna go toe to toe with Sporting Cristal. They signed several strikers on this off season during the World Cup. The market in Peru, the transfer market in Peru was wild. Johnny, was wild. They went ahead and get Barcos. They went ahead and get Michael Hoyos. It's just it's loaded. Cristal is loaded right now. But we also got our signings. But I know I said this the last time around that we were gonna win it. But then we lost in Cusco as we were underdogs, right? Universitario is a dog. Yeah, I know. Everybody's a dog in Cusco. And but that was not the thing, Johnny. It was not the thing that we were the underdogs. It was that because you couldn't go there and survive. It's not an excuse. It's just, you gotta survive. It's an actual obstacle that you cannot deny. It's just like you cannot put it aside. No, we want to go. No. You can go around it. Yeah, you gotta play there. It's 12,000 feet above the sea level, and you gotta deal with it. But we always played good in the altitude, but not that night. On that night, it was just not about the. Matter of fact, Cienciano could have beat us like 3-4-0 in that game. We ended up winning losing by just 1. But the idea is not there. It's not there, John. It's concerning because we switched from having one anchor, one pivot, and now we're playing with 2 pivots in the midfield. And it's just amazing how we're still missing Rodrigo Ureña, the Chilean, in that position. He was just handling by himself. Now you got 2 players in the same position, sharing the roles, and he just can't get it done. And it's insane with this. That's the piece that we haven't been able to figure out how to replace yet. And to tell you the enormous influence in the game, in the structure, in the team that he had, Rodrigo Ureña, in the past 3 championships. Now he was an essential part of these 3 championships, and now we're missing. Now hopefully, we perform better tomorrow night. I don't want to see that. I don't want to say that. Oh well, no, we want to win. No, but the thing with the Clásicos with Cristal, it's less hustle and more playing. That's the good part, right?
Yeah.
When you go with Alianza, it's all hustle, all on the grinds with it. It's just a fight, it's a war. No, with Cristal, it's like, who's gonna play better tonight? That's the deal. That's the main goal here. We're gonna play better than you, and it's just not gonna be you. We're gonna play. I want to play better than you, and that's the essence of these Clásicos. We always have better play Clásicos between Cristal and Universitario than with Alianza Lima. Hopefully, we win tomorrow night.
You are a minus 135 favorite. The draw is a plus 265, and Sporting Cristal coming to your barn is a plus 295. Cusco, by the way, is a favorite on the road at Comerciantes Unidos at a plus 129 tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
4:15 in the afternoon. You're playing on a Friday at 2:00. You're playing on a Friday at 4:15.
Yeah. That's what we do. That game at 2:15. Where is it, Johnny?
Well, it's it's at Comerciantes Unidos is the 4:15 with Cusco, but Sport Huancayo is hosting Los Chancas at 2:00.
Yeah, those games they specifically designed to the altitude hits you worse at that time of the day. That's why.
Oh,
you don't see you rarely see games at nighttime. Well, in case in Cinciano don't care. They play at nighttime, and mainly because they have a bigger stadium. It's 45,000 sitting in that stadium in Cusco. So they want to play nighttime because we're not collect money, right? But in Huancayo and the Wireless, it's a different story. They just want to win. They're gonna put you games at 2 p.m., 1 p.m., where the altitude hits you the worst.
And we have also discovered the value of Juan Pablo II.
What is it? Why you find out about that, man? Tell me.
Well, it's not every day that you got a team named after a pope, and also that they use the old San Diego Padres, the old gold and brown as their jersey colors. So we've been gravitating toward Juan Pablo II in Liga Uno.
It's insane, and I just got to tell you this, right? This is the team that owns the president of the Peruvian Soccer Federation's wife, not him. His wife. He doesn't own that. No. It's his wife. Doesn't have nothing to do with it, right? We're sure that there's no. All right, we're clear now, right? I think maybe. But the wild part is that their training facilities are the best in the goddamn country.
Oh, there's the E rating today. All right.
The best facility in the country belongs to this team.
Oh, wow.
Huh? But no. I mean, they just they do raffles and the parties and the salt cakes and that's how they got the money for that. That's what he said.
Yes, exactly.
So,
yes. Yeah.
So I don't know how, but yeah.
All those cakes that they're selling, but you're selling more. That's what matters. It's a year, but it's a year to go before the games in Lima. You hit a year.
Yes, 1 year today is the countdown today, around 3 p.m. in the main square in Lima. There's gonna be a party. There's gonna be singers. There's gonna be dancers. It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be also Simone Biles will kick off that one. That countdown, the 1 year countdown. She arrived to Lima a couple of nights ago. She went to Cusco. She was, like a rock star, man. Like a rock star treatment here in Peru. Simone Biles, man, it's just insane. So she's gonna be, putting the clock countdown in the Lima main square, and we are excited, man. Second Pan American Games that we're gonna have, man. This is insane. We didn't have this in like forever, and now we got two in 2019, was it? No? Yeah, 2019. Yeah, 2019 and now 2027. We got two times in less than a decade, so it's not bad for Lima. So everybody's welcome to the next year's Pan American Games, guys. So just let us know if you're gonna have a place to crash in. I got a couch, a big couch. I got my dog here too.
Well, yeah, that, and we're hoping that we got to figure out how to get you in to cover soccer at the Pan Am Games. We got to figure that out too. We got to get
Yes,
you
sir.
as the SDH correspondent. All right. So, what's the latest with the baking and the things? What's the latest with you?
Brother, you know what? It's just crazy. This lady, which is my biggest customer, she always buys cakes for me. I think she buys cakes for me like every week, right? So she came out with this, and can you do a Hello Kitty cake? And she sent me a picture, like, man, I was like, Jesus, I was looking at her. I mean, and it was, it was on WhatsApp, right? So she didn't see my face. So my reaction was like, man, I'm gonna do this thing. And I said, yes, of course, right? I mean, I figured it out, right? I just say yes, and we turned out pretty good. I'm so proud, man. Just look at it in the IG I just posted last night. It's just crazy because it was just my first, kind of design cake. I gotta do the research, how you do this thing and that thing, and I get the toppers and everything. And the lady, she sent me, because it was for her niece, the cake, right? She sent me the video of the revealing, right? They got the box, put it on the table, and she opens the box and is like, it's so beautiful. Man, yeah, that was it. Nino, you nailed it. Nino, you nailed it.
Fantastic.
I'm so happy, man.
That's great. Keep me posted on travel plans for food, because we want to sample it too. It doesn't have to look like Hello Kitty, but we want to expand into the Americas. That's what we want to do. We want to sit there and flash it.
You'll get it. You'll get it.
As always, my friend, it's great to see you. We love you very much. Do not be a stranger, and we'll catch up with you again. I think it might not be next week. So unless you can come in on Wednesday, but we'll figure it out, because I have an assignment where I have to be outside of this studio this time on Thursday. But we'll keep you posted for next week. We love you very much. We'll see you soon.
All right, see you, buddy. Take care.
There he goes, Nino Torres. Darned internet. So, darned computer. Sorry, my bad. It's a darned computer. But yeah, next Thursday, we're at the media game for Atlanta United, and so that'll be streamed. Mike and Jason will be on the call at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and I'll be patrolling the sidelines, talking to very, very tired members of the media who are going to be trying to score on Atlanta United personnel. So that's going to be 10 o'clock kick next week. So that means that we've got to figure out Nino and Niko for Wednesday, Friday next week because of the media match. We're probably going to do a power hour from 8:30 to 9:30, and hoping to do it from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground next week. Then we got to do the media match. Kicks off at 10, HLUTD.com/live. You can have fun staring at your favorite media members. Like I said, Mike and Jason on the call. I'll be downstairs, and we'll have fun scheduled, Mother Nature permitting, next week at 10 o'clock, HLUTD.com/live, the media match, where media get to sit there and get gassed after running around for 5 minutes. And I think Maddie is going to be at left back, and she is going to try and keep as many people from humanly possible as scoring. So that'll be next week. A couple of pieces of news. Mo Salah is official at Trabzonspor. It's a 2-year deal. It is also official. RB Leipzig's Jan Diomande is joining Real Madrid in a deal worth up to 140 million euro. Barca have held talks with Rodri's camp over the conditions of a potential deal. So now Barca is trying to get there ahead of Real Madrid. We were talking about other transfers and things like that. I mentioned Jedi Robinson, PSG interested in Chelsea's Malo Gusto, according to the 3-letter paper. Believe that see the 23-year-old as a player to provide strong competition for Ashraf Hakimi, but they've been informed the deal would require an offer worth £75 million. PSG said to be weighing up the move after Luis Enrique welcomed the idea, and it said it's a deal that could be possible with Chelsea required to offload players because of FFP, financial fair play. Forest want to keep hold of Morgan Gibbs-White amid interest from Bayern Munich, Manchester United, and Chelsea, according to the 4-letter paper. Been identified by Bundesliga champs as a potential replacement for Michael Olise should he leave. United could see him as a future successor to Bruno Fernandes. Gibbs-White remains contracted at the City ground till 28 after he penned new terms following an approach from Spurs last summer. Arsenal preparing a new offer for Villa defender Ezri Konsa, according to the 4-letter paper. They've been keeping an eye on him all summer. Despite Villa's hopes of securing him to a contract extension, braced to receive an improved proposal from the champs after the previous one was below his £60 million transfer valuation. 47 appearances, all comps linked to Liverpool. Let's see. Vinicius Jr. progress made in talks between Real Madrid and his reps over a new contract yesterday. Club making a latest improved offer. Players camp now feeling optimistic about a renewal. Franco Mastantuono is set to join Fiorentina from Real Madrid on a season-long loan, according to the 4-letter. Madrid continuing to pay a portion of the wages. Ferran Torres, Barca expecting to receive an offer for him from PSG, according to Mundo Deportivo. 3-letter paper, Forest have emerged as the front runners in the race for 18-year-old Grassrunners FC striker Abdoulaye Agbajoy, who has been compared to Erling Haaland. Ekrem Konur, Trabzonspor keen to reunite Darwin Nunez with Mo Salah. On the radar, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, and MLS clubs. United keeper Altay Bayindir set to complete a loan move to Celta de Vigo. That's the 4-letter paper. Former Arsenal defender Takahiro Tomiyasu set to join Crystal Palace on a free. That's Fabrizio Romano. The Times, Inter Milan and Atletico de Madrid battling for Huti Romero from Spurs. Team talk, Everton pushing to sign Celtic and Canada international right-back Alistair Johnston. Sky Germany and Florian Plettenberg. Hoffenheim striker Fisnik Aslani set to undergo a medical ahead of a move to RB Leipzig, previously linked to Barcelona. Inter Milan have dismissed a 40 million euro offer from Brentford for defender Alexander Stankovic. Gazzetta also reporting AC Milan exploring a 30 million euro move for AS Roma winger Matthias Sula. Football Insider, Everton could consider offloading winger Tyler Dibbling if they find a replacement this summer. So with those in the barn, let's find out what also is on the radar of our friend Ben Jacobs and see if there's anything else going on in the world of Ben Jacobs, where there's plenty going on traditionally. And let's see. All right. Let's go to Ben Jacobs this morning and find out what's on his mind. And it is Barcelona feeling that they're ahead of Real Madrid in the race for Rodri, according to Ben and Alex Crook at Talk Sport. 125 plus 15 is Jan Diomande and Real Madrid and Leipzig. 7-year deal for 140, so budgeted out at 20 per. Lyndon Dykes to Millwall is done. It's a 1-year deal. Bournemouth confirmed Juanlu Sanchez has joined from Sevilla on a 5-year deal. 11 million euro plus 2 in the package. And big potential, played over 100 matches for Sevilla at only the age of 22. He's got Champions League experience. Bournemouth have spent over 60 million euro. Sources say Bournemouth feel their squad is 95% complete, and the intent remains for Alex Scott-Ryan and Junior Krupi to stay. Note from Ali bin Al-Hussein from Jordan on his 280-character app this morning. Thank you to the FIFA administration for suddenly this morning delivering what was owed to our players and coaching staff for the Jordan national team's accession to the final of the FIFA Arab Cup in Qatar last December. This was funding that should have been received 8 months ago. While this is a good development for our players, it does not change the serious concerns we in the football world have regarding the FIFA leadership, nor does it change what our FAs have been subjected to in the past. It is symptomatic of those exact difficulties that we all face and that are usually linked to the FIFA presidential elections. Does not change my clear positioning concerning the leadership of FIFA, my FA, and I will not endorse President Infantino, nor will we vote for him. Keep that in mind. Mo Salah is officially official because he is staring down at a contract, pen in hand, hovering over said contract, and he's thinking about signing. So it's officially official. Mo Salah signs his 2-year deal with Trabzonspor. Mickey Van de Ven in talks with Spurs to sign a new deal. Discussions have been positive, according to Jacobs. Agreement getting closer. Nothing is done yet. Liverpool currently have no plans to move for the Dutchman this summer. James Trafford has signed his Leeds medical. So release clause within fast-moving negotiations. So he'll be between the sticks for Leeds. Joel Veltman has joined on a free after leaving Brighton. He's now at West Ham with Nuno on a 1+1. And Veltman says, quote, "We know that West Ham need to be in the Premier League, and for sure that is our goal this season." Middlesbrough set to sign Tottenham defender Ashley Phillips for a £7 million deal plus add-ons, according to Scott Wilson at the Northern Echo. And Phillips has permission to undergo a medical. We mentioned Rodri. Bruno Guimaraes expected to sign a 4-year deal, and a 1-year option has been discussed. $75 million agreement in place with Arsenal. So that sets up everything from Ben Jacobs this morning. Now, Tom Bogert, Aidan Morris opened the door. Berhalter and Arfston once again following everything to Middlesbrough. And also within the last 20 minutes, the Galaxy are now finalizing a deal to sign Chucky Lozano from San Diego FC. The deal is a loan. Lozano will be a designated player. 11 plus 11 in just under 2,000 minutes for San Diego FC last season. Finalizing the deal, Galaxy, low risk. It's a loan. They are convinced that Chucky Lozano is motivated to be at the club, and so we'll keep an eye on that. Houston Dynamo finalizing a deal to sign Uruguayan international left-back Marcelo Sarachi from Boca Juniors. Herman Garcia Grover was first to report that. Spent last season on loan with Celtic, previously with Levante, Leipzig, Galatasaray, Mas. So I think that catches us up on Major League Soccer. So you've got those moves and everything else that is attached to anything and everything that is there all morning long. All right, and so coming in a couple of minutes, he's going to be coming in hot. So we're gonna catch up with Nino here in just a bit, because we do have Leagues Cup to talk about. I have the conversation ready to go when it comes to everything involving Leagues Cup. We got highlights from last night. Kind of get into that. Obviously, we're going to start our conversation with what's going on in Seattle with the Sounders and just how it was last night. Went through the table for Moreno joins us. And we'll start at the end. Last night, late night, LAFC was going back and forth with Chivas, 1-1 after 90. They go to PKs. Here's the ending. Max and Dunny, Leagues Cup on Apple TV.
A wonderful ball striker, Ryan Porteous. His moment. Porteous, yes, kept it low. We're going to a 6th penalty. Jawing off it, Rangel. Romo! Oh, big left paw, Thomas Hasal! Coming up with the goods.
Let's keep an eye on the feet themselves. Yep. Yeah, he's good. Might be the right time to take a yellow card for just a little bit more time wasting.
To win it, Terry! Yes! Jude Terry, calm, cool, collected.
And getting the extra point for LAFC, will it be enough? We'll find out. Let's go to Seattle and catch up with Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports, and find out. Late night for you, sir, and I did it on purpose. I went backward. Late night last night, we started with LAFC, Jude Terry locking it down in the 6th frame in sudden death PKs, which means the other late night game, and you are shaking your head because you know where we are going. It is the Estadio Nemesio Diaz Top ranked Toluca, 15th ranked Seattle. By the way, sir, good morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, audience. It's once again another beautiful Thursday. Trying to get established, connected here with a second computer that I'm running to make sure that our connection is always great. So I got two setups. I got the regular setup, and I got, of course, the SDH specific setup. I call it the John Nelson special.
Oh,
baby.
God.
So excited to be here. To be honest, excited to just talk to you, man, because it hasn't been an exciting time here in Seattle. It's actually dark, murky times in the Pacific Northwest, specifically here in Seattle, man. It's just loss after loss, issue after issue, injury after injury. And last night, it was just another game where the Sounders didn't just lose, but they were completely dominated in every facet of the game. They gave up near 30 shots. They were unable to create a lot, and the couple of moments that they did create, they were unable to capitalize and finish. Look, man, I understand that this team is been plagued by injuries, and the amount of injuries that no MLS team could really withstand. But that's not an excuse for some of these performances. And look, to be honest, just the understanding that, yes, you're playing the top ranked team in this tournament, top ranked team in CONCACAF, essentially. You are completely outgunned. You're clearly the heavy underdog. But when you, as the head coach of the Sounders, in Brian Smetzer, just don't come up with anything new to just try to maybe at least shake things up, right? I mean, you have the most amount of losses consecutively in history, and you decide, because where you are on injuries, that you have to get a whole bunch of Tacoma Defiance guys to be on your bench. I thought that maybe there was going to be some sort of creativity there in terms of, hey, we're going to change the formation a bit. We're going to go with a 4-4-2. Maybe we're going to start some of these Tacoma Defiance players that have been, on a hot streak, and they can maybe provide a little bit of a spark. But it was just a lot of the same, almost the same lineup that you saw against the Portland Timbers. Except for the ones that you had to change, of course, like Paul Arriola for Kalani Kozarianzi. But you go with the same pivots. You go with the same setup of Ferreira and Albert playing right next to each other. So it just feels like there was just nothing differently about this game. It's like you're running into the same wall. And because of it, you got played out of that field. And if it's not for a phenomenal, heroic, legendary performance by Stephen Fry that has 16 saves.
Holy crap, I just saw that.
You probably lose this game 5-0, if not 8-0, if not 10-0. I'm kidding, no. But, it could have got really, really bad early, and it was just a Stephen Fry show.
Oh, my God. I'm seeing this for the first time because I saw most of the match, and it didn't quite hit me. So 16 saves, 20 accurate passes out of 36, 2 long balls, 8 diving saves, 9 saves inside the box, 1 time acting as sweeper, 2 punch clears, 6 throws, 9 recoveries, 2 clearances, 60 touches for Stephen Fry, 16 blanking saves. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep, that's how superior Toluca was.
Wow.
And when I saw Brian Smetzer come out to that press conference, I thought that he was going to be upset, because there's no way that he set up this game to absorb this much pressure. I don't think that he came out to be outplayed in the way that he was outplayed. And just because you're a goalkeeper, and you have to be happy for Stephen Fry, who he's been just waiting for his moment to shine, and he does that. I still thought that there was going to be a lot more of self-reflection and self-criticism right after that game. Now, look, I don't know what happened to the way CONCACAF or the Champions League PR team took this press conference, because Brian was asked 3 questions and nobody in Zoom was able to ask a question. We were waiting there, just sitting in our hands. But, the question was going to be, Are you alarmed? Are you in any way concerned that this was probably the worst performance you've had in Leagues Cup's history since you started playing this specific tournament? That yes, regardless of the injuries, you were unable to put your plan together. And none of those questions were asked. I'm sure we'll ask him here moving forward. But I thought it was concerning that I don't want to say that this team is complacent, because I know that they're not. And I don't want to fall too hard on Brian Smetzer, because he's been dealt a bad set of cards, and he's just kind of trying to get around and maybe just fold a couple of times with what he has. But at the end of the day, you have to try to get this team off this funk, and having a team like Toluca just kind of play target practice with you is not the way to do it.
No, the numbers: 40 shots to 4, 19 on target to 2, 60 touches inside the opposition 18 compared to 3, 60 touches inside the opposition 18 by Toluca, 3 for Seattle, 19 shots on target compared to 2, 40 total shots compared to 4, 6 big chances compared to 1, 250 times more passes completed, 12 corners compared to 1. It was 10-0 at one point. So 3 hit the woodwork. It could have been worse. Shots inside the 18, 23-1. Outside the 18, obviously 17-3. Accurate long balls, 25-9. Accurate crosses, 9-0. 16 fouls, 10 committed by Toluca and 6 by Seattle. 28 tackles for Seattle compared to 21, 10 picks for Toluca compared to 2, 7 blocks compared to 1, 17 clearances to 9, and 16 saves. That is mind-bending to me. 16 saves. Man.
And it was beyond the stats, man. It was just a Toluca team that did what they wanted. Like, Gallardo did absolutely everything he wanted on that field. He got forward when he wanted to. He got to the end line. He scored a header for the first goal. He had opportunities. He was overlapping, underlapping, doing, all kinds of cartwheels across the field, and he could not be stopped. And look, I understand this is a very good team where Alexis Vega, he playing as an inverted winger, is a handful, and he's cutting inside, and he has a phenomenal mid-range shot. And you were going to get pepper, but I expected a lot more fight from this team. And is that asking for too much? I don't think so. Look, Jesus Ferreira does put a very good ball into Osase de Rosario, and probably the best opportunity of the game for the Sounders that they're unable to complete. But those are the moments where a guy like Osase should be waiting for and should be ready to just chip the goalkeeper. And I know that it sounds terrible for a guy like me sitting here sipping my coffee to say, hey, that should be like a easy finish. But essentially, these guys are supposed to be the best of the best at what they do. And if you are a guy like Osase that I know is hungry, that I know works hard, those are the moments you're going to be judged on. And unfortunately, he had his moment and was unable to do it. Albert Rustak's another guy that he just needs to do more. He needs to be able to influence the game differently. He put in a lot of effort. He put in a good shift at the very least. Brunel, I also thought had a decent game, but is just not good enough, John. And people ask me, hey, what is it that's wrong with this team? And the reality is that is just a ripple effect of a team that had an edge on the league because of their academy pipeline, because of the way they utilized their Tacoma Defiance, and they had a choice. Either we invest to be great or we stayed being good, and they decided to just stay being good. And that is a lot of the blame has to go to the front office and the amount of, or the lack of, investment that there has been to this roster. I'm not saying don't continue to do business as usual, because it works. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You got the Stuart Hopkins, the Burnells, the Obets that are now gone, the Danny Leyvas that are playing phenomenal in the Caxa. You have proven that you have this very good academy, but you got to be able to give your team top talent to also go with it. Look, I think that Jesus Ferreira is going to be a very good player. He's going to continue to be a very good player, but he needs other players around him, right? He is just not the guy that's going to take over a game all by himself. He's a very good player, and he's become a real good playmaker for this team, but he needs other players to be there in order to perform. And that's the reality. Look, Nicolas Torero just retired completely out of soccer, and I was able to talk to him for a little bit, and he's like, man, it hurts to watch the Sounders, and that's the reality of it, man. It hurts to watch the Sounders because when a guy like Niko, I believe he's back here somewhere, is that this one's older than that. But Niko is a guy that unfortunately don't come every single year. They're hard to find. Someone that's going to be a cornerstone for your team and just carry that weight. And right now, this team doesn't have it. Now, the light at the end of the tunnel might be Pedro coming back at some point. Ye might be able to come back at some point. But man, it just doesn't look like, at least in the near future, there's anything better coming for the Sounders. They have a game against Querétaro that might be their best chance to break this losing streak. But after that is Chivas. I know it's at home, and I know that Chivas is not in great form, but it's still Chivas. So at this point, I don't know what I expect from this team or how long this losing streak is going to stand.
So then how much patience is there in Brian Schmetzer right now, / the front office, to turn things around, however you want to phrase it? What is the patience level with Brian? Obviously, the emotional capital is there and the athletic capital has been built over time. But where things stand right now, yes, injuries are a part of this. What is the Brian Schmetzer status? Do you have any read on this at all?
Yeah, look, right now, as much as people and fans like to think that there's a hot seat, I just don't know how hot it is. Maybe it's getting warm, but if there is a coach out there that can withstand a 10, maybe an 11 game losing streak, is Brian. Because, he's just like Greg Vanney, where, everybody was asking for his departure and dismissal of the team, and it just never happened. Brian has that same sort of influence within this team. And again, it's hard to only make him culpable for what's going on because of the amount of injuries that he's had. He started the season extremely well. We were talking Supporters Shield. Is that crazy? We were talking, Supporters Shield run at the beginning of this year, and then it all just falls apart. So when it comes to the coaching, I think that he has enough credit, enough leeway to continue to be part of this team, but he doesn't help himself in some of the approaches that he takes on this post-game conference. Like last night, he just looked way too comfortable, way too optimistic after a game where your team just got pummeled. And yes, it was a 3-0 game, but it should have been 8. So I thought that he was going to come a lot more fiery. There is a kid that they brought up from Defiance, Mark Bronick, who's killing it in the MLS Next Pro, right? He is a kid that has looked really, really good. There was a couple of other players in the bench that maybe, look, if you already know that you're not going to win this game, maybe just try one of these kids out to see what happens, see if it, puts any more pressure on the attackers, or simply to just shuffle the deck. I mean, just shuffle it and figure out what happens. And those are the things where maybe it's too much of the same thing. Again, I was very surprised when I saw the personnel and the way he was approaching this game, that it was a lot more of the same. I would have liked to see just something a little bit different in this particular game, but it hasn't. He has personally said that he's not going to panic. The panic would be changing formations, changing principles, rushing Pedro de la Vega in. And there's some truth to some of those things, but I think formation and concepts, if you don't have the players to effectively execute your game plan, you got to change it up. And that's where you are now, in my opinion.
Bronick, 9+3 in 19 appearances, 12 starts, and just under 1,100 minutes for Tacoma Defiance. He's their leading goal scorer. 16 shots on target, 9 goals so far this season for them. Lineup last night was Stephen Fry in net, left to right, Nuhu, Jackson Reagan, Stu Hawkins, and KKR in front of them. It was Kingston and Brunel. Attacking midfielders left to right, Rothrock, Rusnak, and Jesus Ferreira, and Asaza de Rosario was up top. The names that you mentioned, Roldan Masovsky, Antino Lopez, Sebastian Gomez, Ryan Saylor, they all go in at various points. Galton Sandness, Shane O'Neill, Charlie Gaffney, Edson Carley, and Mark Bronick. Those 5 attached to, and Max Anchor, all attached to Tacoma, were a part of the game day roster at Toluca last night.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of this. I'm not saying that this kid would have been the solution. That's not what I'm saying. But it would have been nice just to see him out there. And when you are this outmatched, what other things can you get out of than maybe figuring out someone that's going to be able to perform for you moving forward. Now, the front office is doing what they can. It sounds like, at least the GM has been looking everywhere for a striker. I reported on Philippe Kenny. He is a striker from the Switzerland Super League, 13 goals last season. Seems to be following the profile that they're looking for. They're still apparently working on Casper the Feiner striker that I also reported on. We'll see if that changes anything. But the reality is that you need to get this team to change their mentality right now. And you got to be able to figure out if there needs to be a change of formations and contrast and concepts going forward to see if you got to be able to salvage the season, because right now you're in a free fall completely. You get Vancouver here coming up. I mean, it's a brutal schedule.
In the rest of the League's Cup, last night, Purple Team ranked 19th, knocked off Monterrey. It was a home game.
What a game.
Even though they were the away side. So Orlando, Purple Team gets the Duke over Monterrey. Some guy named Griezmann scored. Tyree Spicer scored from the spot. It was 2-0. Ugo Kuiper scored at 90+9. Didn't make a difference except in the final score. Monterrey on the ropes after match day 1. Last night, then the other surprise was in Nashville as Leon ranked number 28. And this is last year's rankings. People said, well, they can't be ranked 28. This is the rankings are attached to last year's numbers. It's nothing to do with this year. Leon ranked 28 goes to Nashville, gets the Duke. They win that one 1-0. Dallas at home gets a win last night, and some dude named Messi got a brace against Atletico San Luis at New Stadium, and they won it 4-2. It was chalk pretty much last night. You had those two. You had Leon winning in Nashville, and you had Orlando winning at home. But the chaos was in match day 1, where you had Atlante and our boy Piojo going to Vancouver as Team 34, knocking off the Whitecaps 1-0. RSL took Tigres and had them on the ropes for a while. Charlotte won at home. Juarez, ranked 23rd, beat Minnesota, ranked 13th.
Crazy.
And so you had a little bit more upset specials in match day 1. It was kind of chalky in match day 2. What have you thought so far of the first 2 match days?
Look, this is what I do like about Leagues Cup, and I know that not everyone loves it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm all with maybe changing it to a biannual basis. I don't know, but I love it. I seeing the contrast of soccer, look, that Monterrey Orlando game was a heavyweight fight. Like, it was blow for blow. There was potential red cards. There was, benches cleared on the field a couple of times. Griezmann's doing his thing. Maxime Crepeau just has figured it out all over again, and he's performed for this Orlando team. Spicer has been a revelation for Orlando this season. In Monterrey, I mean, Hugo Kuiper's with his new team. How fun is that? Was in MLS, was the leading scorer in MLS. Now he's in MX. I mean, tell me you don't like that. What about Mora with San Luis? I mean, is San Luis. I'm over here. Yeah, that's terrible. My mom was so pissed. You got Mora with San Luis. I mean, there are just so many aspects of some of these games that are just interesting to me. Who doesn't want to see Griezmann play against a top Mexican team that potentially they would love to have a guy like this, right? The LAFC Chivas game I thought was pretty good. I know that a lot of LAFC fans don't agree because they were upset about the way that kind of panned out. They ended up getting through, but all of those things I absolutely love the way that these matches have set up. There's been nothing held back out of these games. So I absolutely love it.
Tonight, it's another 6-pack. 7:40 Eastern, NYC ranked 14th, hosting Santos Laguna, ranked 35th. That one's in New Jersey. Riddle me that one. Number 4 versus number 5 at Subaru Park. So Philadelphia Union, once again, last year's rankings, last year's numbers dictate Philadelphia at number 5, Cruz Azul at number 4. And that's at Subaru Park. That's going to be 8, probably 8:20. That's Apple TV, FS1, and Unimas. 8:40 kick in Bridgeview. Chicago, ranked 18th, takes on the Coxa 22. 9:10 at Q2 in Austin and Xolos. That one's going to be fun, 24 and 27. Estadio Banorte, San Diego FC, ranked number 8, goes to take on Club America, ranked number 3. That's on Apple at 10:10. And then Providence Park Puebla, ranked 36, takes on Portland, ranked 26 at 10:40 on Apple TV. What do you think of those?
That's going to be a couple of good games, man. I'm looking at that America-San Diego game. Depending what version of San Diego we see, I feel like they are starting to get more of what we saw in the very first season. They have not been as clinical as they should be, but it seems like a team that is starting to get going. And America's off to a very good start. America's always fun to watch with their lineup, with their pressure, with the way their fans travel and the way they become such a big part of these games. But I'm a little bit nervous for the MLS teams because, look, Tijuana is also another team that is on the come up. Whenever your big teams don't quite get there, like Vancouver, that's when things start kind of get a little bit dicey. Cruz Azul, Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know how Philadelphia, who, to their credit, they have figured it out. They've got a couple of wins. Yes, they have. But Cruz Azul is a difficult team to play. La Máquina, every single time in this tournament, becomes a very good team. So, we'll see where that goes. Necaxa is also a team that a lot of people don't watch them, but you might not have the huge names, but they're a very good collective team. So is Chicago. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Chicago is a very possession-based team. They obviously have their new toy out there working out perfectly in Lewandowski, who, look, man, he looks the part right off the bat. So that's going to be a fun one. But I think this MLS team needs to start getting going if they want to be able to get through and create the right type of atmosphere that you want moving forward.
NYC favored at a -175 tonight. Cruz Azul slightly favored in Philly at a +150. Philadelphia Union a +160. Draws a +260. Chicago Fire, massive favorite at home. No real surprise. It's a -175. But to your point, draws a +309. Necaxa to win outright a +425.
Oh, I like that draw. Really like that draw.
+309
on Necaxa. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I would put money on the Cruz Azul game at all when it comes to that Philadelphia. But what give me that America San Diego game, including the goal compos on that one.
All right. So Austin slightly favored at home against Xolos at a +154. Tijuana's a +165. Draws a +245. You'll enjoy this one. Club America is a -238.
Holy crap.
Draws a +370, and San Diego FC is a +600.
Oh my Lord. Okay, so what's the goal compost?
All right, so let's
I am not. Oh man, 600, huh?
So +2.5 is a -208. 3.5 is a +120. So that's where it flipped at +3.5.
Wow.
So do you think goals are going to get scored or not? And
I do.
And do you think San Diego is going to score any of them? That's the big question.
I think they'll get at least one. I think America definitely runs away with this one, specifically at home. But I like that. I like the 3.5.
And so 3.5 is a +120 in that matchup.
Yeah.
Tonight at the Estadio Banorte, who is the big sponsor now. Portland a -175, draws a +340. Puebla is a +4.25, +425 tonight. So that's your 6-pack, and there's going to be some late night watching and some late night gnashing of teeth in this. What, sir, are you up to these days that folks need to know about?
Man, we have a lot in the works. We are going to be obviously doing our Friday show with Jeremiah Shannon, what we learned this week, where we're going to break down the horrible, difficult week that was.
A no good, very bad day for Seattle.
We're on full alert on injuries with Paul Arriola going down, Kim Ki-hee. It was nice to see Peter Kingston out there yesterday. Sounds like Paul Arriola, it's not season ending, but it's still decently serious. Probably 2 to 3 weeks out, 3 to 4. But we got to get confirmation from the team. So we're going to be looking at what we hear from Brian Spencer, because we haven't been able to talk to him, or at least I haven't. We are no longer doing my Monday show with Ari Lillenwall. I'm going to be taking on an expanded role with Sandra Hart, and I'm going to be potentially creating new content. So it was phenomenal to be part of Love and Scorchers, and we had a really good run there with Ari Lillenwall on that. So expect and wait to see what we have in the books for Sandra Hart. And I'm going to be letting you know, of course, what happens. And of course, Pulso Sports, all of the interviews that we get throughout the week, all of the information will be on Pulso Sports.
And we got to figure out next week, because Thursday I will be out of office for the media match for Atlanta United. So we've got to figure out either Wednesday or Friday and figure out what it's going to look like for you, either before or after. But yeah, we'll lock it down as we get closer and your schedule. As always, my friend, great to see you. And we will continue trekking through Leagues Cup, and we will track you down again next week. And go get your breakfast, my friend. It's great to see you. Love you very much.
Appreciate it, bros.
There he goes, Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sandra Hart. Okay, so we've gone from Seattle and Lima, and I'm guessing New York is where Alex Abnos is. So that's been the morning, and we've gone through all the headlines quickly from said Guardian as of about a half hour ago, 25 minutes. Nick Ames and Matt Hughes. UEFA's doubled down on their threat to boycott FIFA-run competitions, reiterated its loss of confidence in the Infantino presidency. They said FIFA's public backing of Infantino on Wednesday night, quote, changes nothing, end quote. Explained it had not been provided with certainty that repeats of the past 9 days crises will not occur. Last week, UEFA's 55 member associations agreed to boycott FIFA tournaments if Infantino did not withdraw his privately funded FIFA Forward enterprise. More on that over at the Soccer for US POD with Bart Keeler. That's also here on the network. Terms necessary to avert the boycott have not been met. Statement from FIFA associations were very clear about the conditions attached to their non-participation in FIFA competitions. First, proposals to sell off the major competitions had to be withdrawn. And secondly, assurances have to be made that such attempts to disfigure the game in this way will never be made again. These conditions have not been met. In addition, UEFA made it abundantly clear, statement continues, in its statement on Saturday that it has lost confidence in Gianni Infantino's presidency. That position holds. Yesterday's announcement that some people employed by the FIFA president, parenthesis, and whose careers depend on his favor, close parenthesis, agree with him, changes nothing. So if no accord is reached before the U20 Women's World Cup, which begins in Poland on September 5, that would be the first tournament subjected to a UEFA-led boycott. Notable absences in the meeting in Morocco yesterday. Arsene Wenger was one of those folks. Jill Ellis was also one of those individuals. So let's see. I think that pretty much covers the UEFA situation. And let's see if I've missed anything here in the morning. We mentioned Thiago Almada. Keep an eye on, once again, keep an eye on these individuals. Where Atlanta United is concerned. Keep an eye on Brel and Bolo. Ben Jacobs has Rennes looking in the neighborhood of 15 million euro. Keep an eye on Mauricio Amaro from Defensor Sporting. Word yesterday, $3 million price tag for one of the top defenders in his country. Nico Musetti, first to report it. So $3 million price tag is what is being reported for Mauricio Amaro. And then also 19-year-old team captain for Newell's Old Boys, Luca Reggiardo. Gonzalo Calvigioni reporting Reggiardo, the 19-year-old captain from Newell's. Right now, he's got a market value of $2 million. So those are the three names to keep an eye on. And like I said, it looks like Romelu Lukaku might be heading to a team that does not have Mo Salah on it in Turkey. So still looking at striker and looking at the two defenders, the defensive mid and the defender in South America. So those are the three names that are attached there. All right, let's take a tour of the papers and see if there's anything else that I might have missed. Once again, tomorrow morning, back at it again at 9:05 a.m. Eastern time. And we obviously will get you set up for the weekend. We'll catch up with our friends from Apple TV. and find out what the latest is, as you have like 98,000 matches going on every single day here in the footprint. It looks like Mo Salah is going to earn upwards of £14.5 million a year in his 2-year deal at Trabzonspor, which is probably the other reason Romelu Lukaku was looking at Fenerbahce. He didn't want to be a number 2 in the focus. So keep an eye on that. 2 Iranian footballers have been granted Australian citizenship after their protests from earlier in the year. From Agence France Presse, they stayed in country after the Asian Cup in March. They were condemned as traitors in Iran for not singing the anthem at the time. And it is Fatima Pasandide and Atefe Ramazanissade. Sorry. So, yeah, Atefe Ramazanissade and Fatima Pasandide, members of the group of 7 from Iran's delegation who asked for Australia's protection after the protest during the Women's Asian Cup back in March. So they have been granted Australian citizenship on a ceremony yesterday overseen by the Minister for Home Affairs, Tony Burke. So that was other news that came out as well. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed. Matthias Gisela has now been installed as Newcastle's head coach. And another story that we're chasing, and it's also from The Guardian, see if we can catch up with John Durden. It's another soccer over there-ish story. So it's one of the teams, it was middle of the pack in the Indian Super League. Jamshedpur has withdrawn from the league. And the league is set to kick back off. And Jamshedpur, right in the middle of the table, nope. The owners have pulled away. So there were marches, petitions, and Jamshedpur owner Tata Steel pulled the plug on the club at the end of last month after the problems of the 25-26 campaign started 5 months late, 13 matches. New season is supposed to kick off September the 4th. And then you now have Jamshedpur, who was pulling out of the league entirely. Then it was, they won the Shield in 22, 5 years after the club was formed. You've had Steve Koppel, Scott Cooper, Adi Boothroyd, and Owen Coyle as your coaches. And the club was founded by Tata Group, involved in Indian football at various levels for decades, losing a major corporate backer in Tata Steel, one in which insists, however, decisions not about money. Tata Steel Sports have never been evaluated through a profit and loss lens, according to the company's VP and chair, Sundara Ramam, who talked to The Guardian. And it has nothing to do with the financial position. And they're still going to be investing in grassroots sports development. Our sports budget, he says, is not decreasing. It will continue to grow. As chairman, I can say clearly the decision was driven by our desire to focus more intensely on grassroots development and not by financial considerations. So how does this look when it comes to the ISL? That's the larger question now. You had City Football Group leave Mumbai City, and that happened back in December when all the other problems were going on. And so now you have 13 clubs that are remaining instead of 14. And some folks are hoping for a rethink from Tata Steel on Jamshedpur. So that will be, like I said, we'll keep an eye on that one. But once again, it is very, very soccer over there-ish. But it's important in the grand scheme of things in the world of football. So I thought that was important to bring to the table. Like I said, we're chasing after John Durden himself to kind of break things down in the Indian Super League and let us know really where things stand when it comes to that future. So once again, biggest thing is the idea of, once again, it is Leagues Cup all the time. We'll have a lot of the games. We'll have highlights and maybe some sound tomorrow, but hopefully catching up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, catching up with our friends from Apple TV. And also we're going to catch up with John Cotterill and the book club. The SDH book club will continue tomorrow. And John Cotterill has a book out, and it's an opportunity for us to catch up with him and I believe he's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it's looking at his 4 books, but his most recent is Rebels, Rogues, Guns, and Gods, the Wild World of Brazilian Football. So those are on Amazon, but his most recent book, Rebels, Rogues, Guns, and Gods, the Wild World of Brazilian Football, that's what we're going to talk to John about, plus the other 3, Scout Stories, Brazil in the World Cup, and Anatomy of a Football Scout. So he's got 4 books, but the most recent release was what got us to catch up with John. We're going to catch up with him batting leadoff tomorrow in SDH Book Club. So John Cotterill, we'll see if our friends from Beyond Goals can join us, Apple TV, and then we'll get you ready for the weekend with all the other stories and things like that. So that is the rundown for the day. Enjoy your Leagues Cup, people, because it is well worth enjoying the Leagues Cup. And it's been fun to break down. My opinion, Lokeville wants to know of the players rumored to be coming to Atlanta United. I like, sweaty opening, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get blown out. Let's put it this way. You look at the numbers for Amaro, and I like that he's not afraid to stick into a tackle, and he's one of the top tacklers in the country. And it is also, when it comes to Amaro in and of itself, Defensor Sporting, one of the top tacklers in his league, one of the top winners of duels in his league. And this is a team that is in the Uruguayan Primera. They are in, and you know what, you can watch the Uruguayan Primera at Fanantes, fntz.co/soccer down here. So middle of the pack in the Uruguayan Primera. And this is against teams like Peñarol, Torque, Nacional, Liverpool, Danubio, Cerro Largo, Boston River, Juventud, and etc. But Defensor Sporting, if I'm getting a guy that's not afraid to mix it up, I'm all for it. And the fact that he is 20 or 21, depending on the sourcing, bring it. Like I said, I mean, his defensive numbers for challenges, not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to go get the ball, not afraid to win it back. I'm all for it. And he would be, like I said, he would be, and we talked about the $3 million pickup. So it's navigable. And when it comes to Luca Ricciardo at Newell's, you're talking about someone who's 19, who's already getting the captain's armband in Argentine football. And his defensive numbers, once again, in Argentina for a 19-year-old who has been given the responsibility of a team captain, just from the surface, like I said, I like what I've seen from Amaro, especially with his numbers. Well ahead of the curve when it comes to the rest of Uruguayan football, period. And when you look at Ricciardo, the fact that he's getting the captain's armband at 19, and one of those two can be a U22 pickup for you because you have one U22 spot available, and I think you have an international spot available as well. So either way, one could be a U22, one could be one could be an international, TAM player. Bring them in. Like I said, if you can get those two for $5 million or so, $6 million, cool. That helps you out at the spine. Especially then you get to add those two to the individuals that you're bringing up from the academy and from the twos, plus the folks that you have here. If you have like Baez, Jacob, Mihai, Matt Edwards, and then I believe Reggiano would be the player at the back. You help him. You have the older players, bring him along. And then you have Amaro as your 6, who has been known to be an ish kicker. So you're building out from the back and you're building your spine as well. And then if you can bring in a striker in Embolo, obviously we know what we've seen on the world stage. You need somebody that can put the ball in the net. Strikers aren't cheap. But Embolo at 15 seems like it's a navigable figure. And it's also someone who is younger than Romelu Lukaku. Different body type, Look, if but the fact that I am more, I'm not going to say the word impressed, but I'm encouraged that you're still continuing to chase after established talent up top and the younger talent the further you get to the back because of what Atlanta United has been able to develop. Because remember, you're getting Cooper Sanchez back. Cooper Sanchez is part of the U20s. He'll be coming back. Christopher Cupps, by the way, is heading back to Chicago Fire because the team has qualified for the World Cup. So Fire have asked for a recall on Christopher Cupps, and they got it. Cooper Sanchez is down with the U20s still. Braden Dunham, who we know about, once again, development, he's part of the U20 roster as well. But the fact that you are finding younger talent at the back, the fact that you're chasing after talent up top, I'm encouraged by that. And the fact that you're not just limiting yourself to one area of geography and that you are encouraged. Like I said, I'm encouraged that they're chasing after these folks first and foremost, that they're in a discussion because as we well know, Atlanta United is team no leagues. And so everything is coming inbound when it comes to information out from the player that they're chasing after into us. The fact that you're still chasing after those players, that's what I'm cool about more than anything. But you have young talent that helps you out at the back, both in your midfield setup and in your back line to add to what you're bringing in and what you have. I think that if you're, individuals in either of those two positions, I think that you're on notice. But you have young players, both U22s. One, like I said, one's probably an international TAM and the other is a U22. But I'm more encouraged at the fact that you're still chasing after these folks more than anything else. So we'll see what happens. So Brell Mbolo, Mauricio Amaro, Luca Rijardo. Those are the three names to keep an eye on when it comes to Atlanta United and the chase here in the transfer window. So we'll keep an eye on all that stuff as we go and let you know what the latest is with all that. All right, back at it again, 9:05 in the morning. Once again, John Cotterill is going to lead off to talk about his book on Brazilian football in the SDH Book Club. Hopefully catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, catch up with our friends from Apple TV, get you set for the weekend in Leagues Cup and all the news that you need to know. Thanks once again to all of y'all for hanging out with us, as you always do. Lokeville, David, and Michael Head was in this morning. And great to have all of you with us. Nino, Niko, the Power Hour, and Alex Abnos from The Guardian to talk about journalism, kind of like Journalism 101, how they chase after these stories, make sure that they're sourced. And remember, go back and read the piece about Austin FC that's on The Guardian's page, just so when they continue to bring information out in that story, you know where it's coming from. It's an important piece, and I thought it was important to bring Alex in to talk about how you assemble something like that. That is, it is a topic that is profoundly, it is exponentially delicate, and you got to figure out how to present it. And that's why I wanted to bring Alex in to talk about the story A, and then discuss the art of the idea of tracking things down so you have it 110% correct, as he says. So back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning, and we'll break it all down. And hopefully when I go get the car detailed this afternoon, it's probably going to rain the second the car is done getting detailed. But anyway, be safe, everybody. I know the weather's kind of dicey out there. Mucha platiel, play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do one thing and one thing only. Get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Set your notifications. Be a part of the family and get Morning Espresso brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So from the Kaiser Permanente studios, we are out. See you in the morning.